Welcome to the Chris Beytes podcast. That's me. I'm Chris Beytes, editor-in-chief at Growertalks magazine, and in this series of podcasts, I'm going to introduce you to some of the winners of our annual Growertalks Young Grower Award. I'm going to pick their brains about what they love about the industry, their daily challenges, their triumphs, their failures, best decisions, and their dumbest mistakes. And hopefully, we'll get some words of wisdom from them too. I hope you enjoy it. With me today on the Chris Beytes podcast, specifically the Young Grower Award winner podcast series, I've got John Terhesh. Welcome, John.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
All right. Where are you broadcasting from today, John?
I am at Breezy Hill in Salem, Wisconsin. So right on the border of Illinois and Wisconsin.
Is it
Couple of our
breezy?
farms.
Is
It
it
is
breezy
Breezy
at
Hill.
Breezy Hill?
It is breezy today, yes. The
What's the wind
Wi-Fi is
chill?
kind of going in and out. It's warmed up a little bit. We've been freezing cold, but we got a nice 40-degree day and heavy winds. So we got some 40-mile-an-hour gusts today.
All right. Well, if any poly is blowing away and you got to stop, let me know. We'll, plants.
As I look out the window there at the poly, it's looking okay so far.
Plants come first, podcast second. John is our 2019 Young Grower Award winner, the 15th that we had awarded out of 21 so far. Do you recall 2019? Cultivate July, whatever it was, 15th or something.
Yeah, I wasn't sure on the date. It was all pre-COVID, and I feel like there was a big time warp during COVID, and it's like the BC before COVID and then the after COVID period. So yeah, I must have just snuck in right before everything got shut down for COVID.
Yeah, there was one year where we had to do it virtually, and I spoke to our virtual winner. She missed out on the big dinner and all that, but she was a judge the next year, so she got to participate in some of the fun that way. Did you get a bunch of job offers? I always like to think, you win the Young Grower Award, and boy, your future is just set.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, to be honest.
Did you?
Yeah, believe it or not, I did get another job offer, and I took over running as the president of Goodmark Nursery. So I
let's
left.
talk about it. Well, first up, well, let me show. Here's the. Do you remember yourself back then?
I do, yeah. It's hanging up in my office still, so I get to look at myself and then look at myself in the mirror and go, okay, I've been aging a little bit. Put on a few more pounds.
2019, good-looking young man, good-looking, slightly not as young man, still today. What's interesting though, 2019, I had a drone, but I was just doing it for video. You were flying a nursery drone at the time.
Yep, correct.
Pretty cutting edge. We're going to talk a bit about your technological bent, I think, that you seem to have. And you were at Willoway Nursery at the time.
That's correct. I was the head grower at Willoway Nursery.
All right. And how long after that did you switch over to Goodmark?
Same year. The same year. I don't know, Chris, have you heard about the curse of the winners? Have you guys talked about that a little bit?
Not so far. So far.
Yeah.
This is not like Sports Illustrated or something like that. So far, no bad news has come. Only good career opportunities and amazing things. But I haven't interviewed everybody yet.
They say that there's a curse of the winners, in that when you win, you end up in a new job or you end up leaving the industry. So I think that's just the runner-up talk, but
right, yeah, you don't want to win.
It's out
you might
there.
accidentally get a good career move. Well, we're going to talk about your career because it's interesting what you said to me about what led you to Goodmark and to your current position at Breezy Hill. But first thing I want to discover is, and also just folks, stick on. If things get a little slow for some reason, you're thinking, I got to go do something else or the phone rings. Don't, because we're going to talk a lot about HR and finding and keeping good employees, because that's something John is apparently pretty good at. We're going to find out if he is or not. So stick on for that. But I want to find out how you discovered horticulture.
So I needed a job at 16, and there was a garden center close-ish to my house, and I went in there to apply, and of course, I got the job because everybody desperately needs people all the time, right?
Yeah, and you
And
were in Chicagoland. You grew
I
up in
was, yeah, I was working for, Sid's Garden Center. I think they have ceased operations since then, but, they were a big player back in the day. So I was working there for a while, and then I went to school at Southern Illinois University. I was undecided, but took an intro to horticulture class, and it kind of mirrored up what I was doing at the garden center and kind of learning the ins and outs of it. And I just really fell in love with it. I wanted to go into landscape design at the time. I made it through most of the landscape design classes, and my professor pulled me aside and went, maybe production's more of your strong suit. Maybe don't pursue the creative side of things." And then I worked an internship in production at Ted's Greenhouse in Tinley Park,
I know Ted
and
very well, yes,
yep, yeah, I worked for Ted himself, the man. And I just fell in love with the production side of things, and then I just stayed with it from there.
yeah. What year were you, working down at Ted's?
Oh, that would have been 2008, I would say.
Okay, I'm
Somewhere
trying
in
to
there,
think.
2008,
I bet
2009.
we crossed paths down there and never knew it. You were schlepping a tray of succulents or
Uh,
something.
Good chance. There was a good chance.
But Willoway was your first big job? Is that safe to
Yeah,
say?
so after the
Tell me about
internship,
that.
Willoway hired me on as a production supervisor. I ran a couple of the farms, supervising them in the Huron location. So I was doing like rhododendrons and azaleas, pieris, and then I had another farm that was mostly containerized arbs. But you got to keep in mind that this is 2010 now. So that's when really or 2009, that was when the industry really got hit
Oh, yeah,
with the recession.
the housing crisis, and we
Yeah,
should say
so
Willoway's in Ohio and a big primarily woody ornamental
yeah, they're a
grower.
gigantic place. They really know what they're doing. But a lot of my job was throwing away excess plants. That's what I remember from the time there,
Oh,
because it was like, so I graduated, I got a job, thankfully, and then a lot of it was like, "Yep, we've overproduced these. Let's throw them away." And it was just making calls like that. So, being new, I was kind of isolated from the chaos in the background, but I was more on the front end of the once the decisions got made. I was kind of seeing a lot of that, but that got me familiar working with more of the crews and running the crew leaders and doing the production kind of side of things, at least an intro in. And then I went to Breezy Hill Nursery after that as a manager, and I ran the container farm
and Breezy
at
Hill is
Breezy
where?
Hill. That's in Salem. That's where I'm currently at. So I boomerang back around.
Oh, so you went
Yeah,
Willoway, where to Breezy Hill, and
back to
then
Willoway.
to Goodmark. Oh, back to Willoway.
Back back to Willoway.
Was there a
Then to
girl
Goodmark,
involved
and
in
then
this
to
whole
Breezy.
thing?
What's that?
Was there a girl involved in this whole thing at some point?
There was, of course.
Still?
Is still. Yep, yep. My current wife.
And she is?
She is the owner of Willoway's daughter, Karen Demeline. So she
Aha!
is on the accounting side. She's wrapping up her MBA, so she graduates this Friday. So that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
And she works for Granger, so as a on the accounting
Well,
side
that's
as a
handy. You get
senior cost
motors and
accountant.
gearboxes and stuff like that when you need them. Pumps.
Yeah, well, it's really nice to ask her accounting questions and go, "Hey, can you explain this to me?"
An
And
MBA,
then I
that's
could come
fast.
in the next day and pretend like I know what I'm talking about.
Oh, there you go. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's a great talent to have. And in fact, we were going to do this tomorrow. And I think and you said, I can't. My wife's graduating. And I was
Yes,
curious what she was graduating. And we'll give her our congratulations. She stayed out of the nursery business, in other
she did.
words.
She really
Well,
wants to get back
indirectly.
into it, but, yeah, she's been on the corporate side, so it's kinda been a nice, it's kinda nice seeing the difference between the 2 cultures from small horticulture companies into a large corporate environment.
Yeah. Well, help me out here. It seems like, would you consider yourself a grower?
I don't know anymore. I would've,
Because
yes.
your current title at Breezy Hill is divisional manager and vice president,
That's
I
correct,
believe,
yes.
if
Yep,
that's
so
accurate.
I run the entire nursery division, it's 1,200 acres, across 4 locations, and then I run, one of the garden centers too, so I have some retail, and the retail's a little bit new for this year.
Yeah, and at Goodmark, based on what I saw, if you were there 4 years, you worked your way up to president. Is
That's
that right?
correct, yeah, yeah. So
That sounds like
I ran
beyond
that whole
growing,
nursery
in
too.
other words.
Yeah,
So
the
tell me how
growing
you
side
went
of
from
things
sort of
is
a production person, in your first jobs up to running nurseries, management, really, presidential level, C-suite level, if there is a C-suite at the nursery.
yeah, I kind of carved out a niche for myself in general. So the head grower will away. That job really kind of gave me the confidence that I could kind of do these roles and understand the flow of things. And I really took an interest in the business side of horticulture and how the business is run and how the inner workings happen, and then married that up with what I knew as a grower. So I kind of have that production knowledge, but I also have kind of the business sense too. And just putting those two pieces together, I've really kind of excelled in general in those
Mm,
departments. So Goodmark gave me the opportunity to actually put theory into practice, and I've kind of carved a niche out for myself of improving underperforming nurseries. So a lot of my career has been coming in and revamping a nursery that the ownership sees as underperforming.
wow, that's really fascinating. Did you sense any of that in your earliest, say, your high school job at SIDS? Like, did you have the opportunity to kind of see how the business ran versus just, filling up car trunks?
I always had an interest in it, so I always was asking questions. I would think a lot of my early managers and even current managers really would say that I'm a pain. So
Just too nosy. That's none of your
just too
business.
nosy, yeah. Just asking too many questions, trying to understand how everything flows and how everything operates, and then really looking at if there is a problem, how to fix that problem. And that's really all there is to it. If there is a problem, don't ignore it. Figure out a solution, and usually doing something is better than doing nothing.
Can you recall the first problem you discovered and fixed and what it was and how it felt?
Geez, first problem. I'm honestly not even sure. There's been, I mean, everywhere that I've worked, it's always been on that problem solving thing. So even things like seeing small liners decline right after planting, like something's causing that. And these would be problems that have happened for 10 years. And the senior management would kind of go, yeah, that's just kind of how it happens. And me kind of looking at it going like, it shouldn't, like
Hmm,
that shouldn't be a thing. What's causing that? What's the problem for it, and let's trace it back. And then you start looking at the soil, then you start looking at the nutrients in the soil, then you start going, oh man, like we're overfeeding the bark mix that we're making, and then planting stuff into really hot soil, so really high EC soil.
hmm.
And then we have to water it like crazy to leach out everything. So let's stop feeding the bark more and solving some of those problems. So that's kind of like the steps of like something doesn't seem right, it probably isn't right, and we should probably put a solution to it.
It seems simple when you describe it that way. But do you think a lot of nurseries just accept this is the way it is?
I do, yeah. I think a lot of people kind of grown up in the same kind of nursery or same kind of environment, and that's all they really know or all they really see, and that just becomes normal to them.
Hmm,
And then they just continue on, and that's just kind of how it works until somebody else comes along and goes, "Yeah, that probably shouldn't work this way."
hmm. Wow, we could just go on for hours diving into this. I feel like I want to dig in a little more about what do you look for first? You walk into an outfit like Breezy Hill, one for the first time, for the second time, or whatever it was, and the owners say, "Help us out here. We can do better." What's the low hanging fruit that one of our listeners might be able to go into their nursery and go, "Oh, here's an area I can improve."
Yeah, I'll jump into the story a little bit. So I was a competitor of Breezy Hill, so I got to hear all about how Breezy Hill operated and what the reputation was, which was not great in the industry. So when I came in, I just kept hearing about plant quality. The quality's not great. Things just aren't looking good. They can't figure out like loading. So I really came in going, all right, I'm going to have to improve quality. I'm going to have to look at the growing team. I'm going to have to look at how they manage things, how they operate in general on the side. And then I came in and toured the place, and the nursery itself wasn't bad. I mean, there's tweaks, of course, that for improvements, efficiencies, or getting a little bit more of the processes down on the nursery side, but the quality wasn't bad. So why are the customers saying the quality is bad?
Hmm.
So then I had to start looking at the sales team and our outward facing piece of the company and how they operate, and there was a lot of issues on that side of the business. So then we started making changes.
What sort of
um,
can you say what sort of issues?
so, without getting too in depth of it, it was there was basically no procedures put in place on the grower side. So if a customer called, we had basically one salesperson. They would answer the phone and basically say, "Yes, we have it." We had no working inventory. We had no working pricing. And nobody really cared about any of those things. So if anyone called up, like, "Hey, do you have Autumn Blaze?" "Yep, we have it. Here's the price," and it would be a randomized price. And then later on, we would go to dig that material and we don't have Autumn Blaze. And they would say, "Oh, yeah, just sub something. The customer doesn't care." The customer absolutely did care every single time. Then we had to make some changes. So since I've been here, we've terminated 7 managers and rebuilt the entire team. So, every single area of the nursery has been revamped,
Wow.
and I've been here 2 seasons now. I'm not even at 2 years. So we've
Wow.
wrapped it up really quickly.
That is
So
something.
everything, shipping, logistics, the sales team got rebuilt, marketing, the garden center side, every piece of the Breezy Hill production side has been changed and improved.
Well,
And
it's not that hard because, people working in nurseries, growers, salespeople, they love change, right? They're eager for somebody to come in and to show
Mhm.
them a new way to do stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
tell them
they're
where
very
they've been
receptive
going
to that.
wrong,
They
etcetera.
Uh-huh,
So I can
yep,
see where it's a piece of cake for you.
that's right.
Thank you for
So
laughing so you can see where I'm going with this.
yeah, no, I mean, that was a lot of the problems. Is that we put together plans and procedures. So the whole first year of coming into a place, it's really observing and seeing how people run things without coming in and just making changes right off the bat. So it's seeing how everybody operates, how the business operates, what our value propositions are, what our goals are, and then taking that piece and then formulating a plan to improve it going forward. So the plan got rolled out like midsummer last year, for spring of this year. And it was wholeheartedly shot down by every person that worked in the nursery. Um, but because I've done a lot of this stuff before at Goodmark, which I've kind of done the same thing, not to this extent, I had the confidence that these things will work. So I was able to kind of like just put my foot down and not be swayed by, "Oh, this will never work." You know, potting machines will never work here. A planting machine will never work here. A 5-man dig crew will never work here. Not substituting will never work here. It's like every other nursery in the country is able to do these things. Like we're just as smart as everyone else. We could do
How do you
them.
what's the trick for getting folks to go along? Do you sweet talk them, or do you use brute force?
So generally, it's more. I really manage from having a vision and goals, and really pushing that vision. And I really want my managers to run their departments. I don't like being micromanaged. I don't micromanage. And that's one of those things that a lot of people will say, like, yeah, of course, nobody likes being micromanaged, but there is probably 30% of the workforce that does enjoy being micromanaged. And that's something that I don't feel like isn't talked about very much. So on occasion, I'll run into those, and then my management style and them just don't work out, because I shouldn't be making all the calls. They're closer to the problems, they're closer to the solutions. They need to
Mhm.
be the ones driving that. So I
Yeah.
kind of come in and we start to talk about visions and what we want the nursery to look like and the ideas to help get there. And I really expect them to start pushing that.
Yeah, you've gotta get buy-in, and a good leader is truly a leader who gets people to follow them, um, and they have to have confidence in that vision.
And
Um,
then I feel like, the industry in general is very good at keeping people way longer than they should.
uh,
Nobody ever wants to terminate anybody in this industry, which is, it's nice. But in order to drive change, that needs to happen. So people get the opportunity to make the changes, to present ideas, to present solutions. And I'm really easy to go like, yeah, if it's an idea that's going to work, let's do it. Like, there's not a lot of pushback. What resources do you need? What do you need me to block and tackle with in order to get this done? Where I really run into problems with people is when they don't have those ideas and they don't want to change. And we know the area is failing. We know the
Sure.
metrics aren't right. We know the KPIs aren't right. Um, and they don't want to push. And at a certain point, you have to cut your losses and just let them move on. They're going to land somewhere where they end up happier, and then we're able to drive the company forward. I think most of the people that were let go here have all landed in better spots. They seem happier, so I mean, it works out both ways. And
Yeah. Yeah.
to just hold them in a spot that just isn't working and beating them up day in and day out just isn't sustainable.
Sure. So, when you talk about the people, which is the most important thing we have, the most important resource, and I think you learned at Willoway about how to hire people pretty early on in your career there. Am I correct? I was reading in Jen's article in 2019 a story about how you'd put out an ad for a job and get 20 applicants, and half of them wouldn't stick around or even wouldn't even make the cut. But you revamped that. Talk a little bit about that because that's an important part of the business.
Yeah, so on the hiring side, so at Willoway, a lot of what I was trying and playing with was getting people from outside the industry to come into horticulture and then developing a training system to move forward with that. I think the early Willoway days, now looking back, 7 years ago, like was a little rough back and forth in general. So as I've progressed into Goodmark and then Breezy Hill, I've really found a system and a way to do that a little bit easier. And that's hiring people that are good at a specific thing and then teaching them the plant side. So if they're really good managers, I will hire that person all day long and then train them on the plant side. We really look at like a 3 season progression. The first season they're learning, you're not going to get much out of them. You're basically hand holding the entire time. The second year they're running, but they're making mistakes, which is good. That's what you want to see in that second
Good.
year. You want to see them out there. You want to see them making some decisions. You want to make them see them call, even if they're not 100% right. That's just coaching and guidance at that point. And then by the third season, they're really up and running. And I feel like a lot of places want to hire that third season person right
Mm,
off the bat, and it doesn't pan out that way. And I've noticed even getting people from other companies to come in, you're still in that kind of cycle of because they're trying to figure out how you operate and what different procedures they have and what works well there versus what they know and how to marry those two ideas together. You're still training people
even if
even
you
with
hired an
that.
experienced grower who's got 10 years of
Correct.
experience, they still need a couple of years to figure out
Yeah.
your way
And
of doing
and it might
business.
not be a 3 season, but it might be a 2 season.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, we do expect a lot out of people. What about general labor? Because that's really, management is one thing. We could talk a lot about finding, managers and growers, but just getting bodies in the door who are willing to do the long, hard work required at a nursery as opposed to, they give up at lunchtime.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is fair. Being fair, your pay needs to be fair, your vacation needs to be fair, if not a little bit generous on that side, because the pay is generally lower. The biggest thing I would say for most nurseries, and everybody will deny this, is look at your crew culture. I started on that crew level and worked my way up through it, so I got to see it, and now I could kind of identify it. But a lot of time, your crews, your crew leaders, and the culture that's happening there is driving those new people out. There needs to be a culture where they help train and they help get people up into speed. And a lot of the time, they are the ones that are riding the new person. They won't help them. They talk bad about them behind their back or even to their face. And that runs out your labor. And if you could
Really?
change the crew behavior to get buy-in of we're building this thing, we're building this engine that is just going to dominate, um, and we need the people to do it and to be able to flip that over. They expect people to come in and work as fast as the 15-year-old or the 15-year veteran, and not somebody that has just got brought into horticulture.
Why is that? Why are crew leaders and maybe the fellow crew members hard on these new people instead of welcoming? Is it a bit of a hazing thing? There's a
It is,
fear of,
yeah,
"Hey,
it's
they're
a
gonna do better
culture.
than me and
Yeah.
make me look bad?" What goes on?
I don't know. People bring this up on occasion of like, oh, they're afraid they're going to do this, or I don't know if I see that. It could be a very valid piece. It just seems to be part of that labor culture of like, I'm a hard worker, I get it done fast, and you're going to listen to me and do it my way at this speed, or you could leave.
Mhm,
And it's just kind of machoism, and it's very prevalent on the Hispanic side of speed over accuracy, speed over quality, speed, and they all brag to each other, the other crew leaders. Well, my crew's doing this or my crew's doing that, and then when they get a new member, their speed might slow down a little bit, and they look at that as a negative on themselves. I feel like
mhm.
instead of putting the focus on I've trained this person or I've trained that person, it's all tied into the actual work.
So how do you get those crew leaders to become leaders of people?
So I think this starts at the top. This starts at the ownership level or the divisional manager level, depending on how your company's structured. And you really need to be able to push that vision and those goals of what the company should look like and what it can be, and get the buy into your managers, who then get the buy into the supervisors, who then get the buy into the crew leaders, who get the buy into the staff. So it takes a while
Mhm,
to change that level. And then a lot of times we end up hiring or promoting crew leaders that maybe aren't the best at their job, but have that leadership mindset, because your crew leader is the best guy that could pull plants. Now is the crew leader of the person pulling plants. The
mhm,
best person that pull plants is now supervising all the people that pull. You know what I mean? Like,
mhm,
it's always the best person, the fastest person that gets promoted. It's not the person that could run people the best or organize their crew the best. It's
mhm,
always the person that's the fastest in a machine or the fastest of doing this.
mhm.
So to
Um,
kind of look at where those crew members are and what their strengths are, and even being able to kind of promote somebody up into a position of supervision, versus just the fastest, best guy on each
right,
crew.
right. What motivates, workers these days? Money? Benefits?
Money.
Time
I
off?
mean, yeah. I mean, it's really the working environment, I feel like, is more than anything. I mean, you have to have fair pay. Geez, I don't know what I said there. Fair pay, you have to have a fair time off policy. A lot of the workers have issues outside of work. You need to be at least somewhat flexible, and that's just kind of being part of this industry and not having a surplus of labor. And you could hold your ground and maintain all of these policies and procedures and say, if you miss this or your car breaks down and you didn't come in, that's a write up. And if it happens 3 times, you're gone. You're just burning people out. It's not a sustainable thing. So we have to be flexible on our side. You know, it's
Mhm.
the old meme of like, it's not me who's wrong, it's the kids who are wrong. Damn it! It's
Get off
like
my
we have to
lawn
look
while
at
you're at it.
ourselves and how we run things. Like, it would be great if we had a standardized policy and this is applied to everybody, no matter what. It doesn't seem to be the case, and you need to be a little bit lenient on the policies and stuff.
Yeah. Now you're, Gen Z? Yeah, I'm not even sure whether
I'm
Gen
solidly a millennial.
millennial. I don't even know how these
Yep.
things work
Yeah,
anymore, but what are you
I'm
seeing in the
pushing 40 here.
generational differences? I'm an old guy, 65 now, but, we grew up punching a time clock, you do your 8 to 5, and you get your gold watch after 40 years or whatever, and every generation seems to have different expectations. What are the young employees coming in today expecting from you
I
and
would
your
say
company?
younger Gen X and below, they wanna work somewhere where they can make a difference. And in order to push, or in order to maintain those workers, you need to be able to push and sell your ideas and that vision of what you want your company to be. That will get everybody to stay. That gets everybody motivated. It gets people. outperforming where you think people would be performing
Tell me a
at.
little bit more about that. So what do you really mean by that?
Yeah, so here I've hired in with the vision that we are a sleeping giant. Breezy Hill has the acreage, we have the infrastructure, and if we could could collectively figure out how to run this, we are going to dominate the whole Midwest. Now
Wow.
that's lofty goals. I don't know if it's possible, but that's what we're going to work towards, right? Like that's what we come in every day and try and push and strive for. I mean, I would assume most companies are also thinking the same way and pushing that. That doesn't matter. We don't talk about competition very often. It just doesn't come up. We look internally of what we do and how to do better, and look at it from a customer perspective to where we want some of the praise. We do a lot of stuff inside the industry. We're more involved with iLandscape. We're more involved with American Hort. We kind of want the accolades. We want to show that we're doing well. We put out like if customer feedback, if it's great, it gets email blasted out to everybody of like, hey, this is what they see, this is what's going on, and we really try to communicate all those changes and how it's impacting the business,
Mhm.
and that keeps people's motivation high. It keeps people's morale high, and it really keeps people engaged in the company.
The-
And if you
oh,
could hold people for 3 to 5 years, that's a win. And if they move on from there, and we could get somebody else in, if it doesn't work, like that's great. That's great for us.
we like to think that because we're the green industry and we're producing plants and plants produce oxygen and clean the air, that should be enough for these millennials.
Yeah, no.
No, no, that's not
I
enough.
I almost I almost look at it as so the environmental side of things. It doesn't seem to affect very often. But then again, I look at nurseries not as like a green industry. I look at it as like a logistics company. We're a factory that produces plants, and we logistically have to get them out of the ground into a customer's job site in a reasonable amount of time with as little problems as possible. The green piece of it comes into how do we do things better? Does the customer care about our plastic usage? Does the customer care that we're not using pesticides? And the answer is sometimes yes, sometimes no. And then we make changes based on that from a customer perspective.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's right or wrong, because a lot of people say the producers should be the one pushing these things, but there's costs associated with it, and margins are razor thin as is. So to say like we're going to switch our pots and double the cost of all of them, but and they're biodegradable and they're more of a pain for the customers to use. It's so the customer's not happy with it. We're spending more for it. Who's happy with that decision? I don't
Greenpeace.
know, right? Yeah, that ethereal person out there that's talking about how our plastic usage is too high, and it
Uh-huh.
is. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
but
I,
there
I
needs to
will-
be solutions that are cost minded that affect the
yeah.
customer.
Where do you look for new employees? Are there any hidden spots where they're dwelling now?
So pretty much everybody that I've hired since we've made so many changes. So we've hired 11 people, removed seven within a year. I would say 30% of them has been through my personal network, people that I know, people I've talked to, and the remainder of them have come from Indeed. So just online website postings.
Mhm.
Um,
And and when you have a candidate for a job in front of you, do you have any secret questions that help weed out? And I'll tell you what mine is. When I'm hiring a writer or an editor, I learned years ago that a good writer, a good editor is an avid reader. It's just they are. They love to read.
yeah,
So I ask, one of the questions I always ask now is, who do you like to read? And there's no right answer. I don't care, whether it's, comic books or, the classics, but you want to be an avid reader and try to tell, oh, you ought to read this book. It's fascinating. Because I once had someone who turned out they couldn't write. And I asked them who they like to read. And they said, oh, read. I hate to read. And I thought, oh boy, so there's a clue. So is there a similar question to find somebody who's going to excel in the nursery or greenhouse business?
Yeah, and the answer is kind of it depends. It depends on the role. Like if I'm hiring a salesperson and they don't negotiate their salary, like that to me is just the biggest red flag. It's just like, yeah, we like you. You know, you're real personable. You like to talk, and then you're just like, yep, nope, sounds good. I'll take the job. And you're like, ooh, like
Well,
you should be able to have that uncomfortable conversation, and you're avoiding that uncomfortable conversation. And that's not always a deal breaker, but it would be something that gets marked down as this needs to be coached with this person, or we need to watch it.
well,
On the
would you
production,
purposely offer them maybe a little bit at the bottom end of the scale
of
to
course.
right? Otherwise, you're going to give me
It's
that much?
expected.
My gosh, I'm not going to
Yeah,
risk messing that up. So
yeah,
I
of
see.
course.
Okay, all
On
right.
the production side, I really kinda like to know how people look at problem solving, so I ask a really weird question usually at the end, and that is, if you were to paint the moon blue, how many gallons of paint would that take? And I don't even know the answer to this. I have it written down on my interview question sheet. But what I really want to know is what they talk about, the steps to get there. Do they talk about logistics of getting the paint up to the moon? Do they talk about figuring out the circumference? Do they talk about doing research on how much paint gets absorbed in moon dust? I don't know. I've heard all over the place. I've heard, you know, blue's not a good color. We should do white, so we could just do one coat instead of two. Like, but I don't the answer's not important, it's the train of thought to see. Because if I'm
Yeah,
hiring somebody in as a problem solver, I don't wanna hear them go like, "Oh, I'm gonna need to, you know, get a calculator." It's like, "Okay, well, like, how do you get there?" I don't know." Like, it's like because
yeah.
it's
You
you're
should
gonna
have that.
face problems you don't know,
It
and
should
what's your
be
you
like
have to
you
solve
don't
it.
even think, "Well, that's a dumb question." Your mind should my mind would immediately go, "That's a cool challenge. Let's how would we figure that out? How big is the
Right.
moon and how many, gallons does it cover? 300 square feet, on a gallon." So, I see where you're going with that. I could use that one in my uh, job over here. Um, what advice we need to wrap up. I said we could go for hours here. Do you have any, real proud moments from your career thus far that you kind of pat yourself on the back for, like, "Man, I did a good thing there."
Yeah, so I have to talk about the role I'm currently in. I really like the work I did at Goodmark. I wish I could have stayed there a little bit longer. We had a difference in vision on where the company should be going. So I separated and I came into Breezy, which I think I talked about of just being completely underperforming. Um, Within the 2 seasons, we just had a wrap up of our season. We had a big meeting. We brought everybody in, and just kinda reviewed the year, and just seeing the team and how well they interact now of from when I started to now. I mean, production and sales all get along. Everybody's talking about the problems that need to be fixed, and nobody's attacking each other. And just the vision, that everybody's kinda pushing is just unbelievably incredible. A
Mm.
couple of people said we just hit lightning in a bottle with us, just being able to get the right people in the right spots. We've had no turnover of the new staff at all. Quality is improving, our processes are improving, logistics improving, and everybody's just happier to work here in this department. And I am incredibly proud of the team we've put together, and incredibly proud of the decisions that we made, and the results we've gotten out of it.
Wow, that's fascinating. All it takes is 1 or 2 negative, sort of toxic employees to drag down the mood of all those people who really want to succeed, to grow, to be part of a team. So,
And
weeding
that's
out that dead wood,
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, one person could tank a whole department. If you have one negative person in there that's talking and trying to get people over to their side, it will completely collapse a department. And
mhm,
those people need to be talked to, given the opportunity to improve. And if they cannot, they need to be removed. You have
yeah.
to cut that out. You're
Uh,
not going to succeed.
yeah, you've had successes. Any any dumb mistakes?
I mean, always, right? Like I mean, there's always dumb mistakes, but generally the mistakes can't be fixed. Right? Like you start going and you're like, I got this idea. I think it will work. Let's start doing it. And then you're just reviewing it. Right. And you're like, it's not working quite how I like it to work. Let's pivot this way or let's pivot that way. And eventually it ends up in a spot that you want it. Maybe it took longer than you thought. Um, I heard a quote from somebody. I'd like to give credit where credit's due, but I cannot remember where I heard it. But they said, um, if people knew how hard it was to accomplish things, nobody would accomplish anything. And I think that's
Mhm.
kind of true, right? If you like looked
Definitely.
at like we're trying to put a AI bot on our website that will do availability, and we've started this way, and now we're like 6 months in, and we still haven't gotten it worked out yet. And if you would have told me it's going to take 6 months to figure this out, I would have never started it. I was like, oh, this is a 3 week problem. Like, we'll get this fixed. And then it just keeps going and keeps moving. And I feel like
Mhm.
work's like that way in general. If I said, like, oh, I'm going to come into Breezy Hill and we're going to, terminate every manager pretty much we have, which was not the goal to begin with. But at the time, like, if I came in and said that and we're going to rehire everybody and we're going to rebuild the whole team, everyone would go, no, this is ridiculous. We're never going to do this. But it just kind of happened that way. We just
Mhm.
kept pushing and kept driving, and eventually things just work out. I mean, you have smart, capable people that are in charge of things, and nobody really wants failure. So everybody's pushing, and you're going to come up with the best decision that the team's going to come up with, and the mistakes don't generally happen as bad.
Yeah. You were part of the HRI Leadership Academy class
I was,
for
yeah, that
last
was
year.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll throw a plug out for them if you're thinking about applying, definitely apply.
Yeah.
You have to look introspective of yourself, so just keep that in mind. To get the full benefit out of it, you really have to look internal and
And what
and
did
see
you
what your
see?
strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and be able to wrestle with those.
What did you find when you looked inside, John?
um, Yeah, so a lot of stuff that I found about me was really tied to what I thought a leader should be and how a leader should interact with everybody, and that I was not anywhere close to being a leader in the industry. And then talking to people and working through a lot of things, I've kind of gotten a lot more confident in what I know and what I do, and that's allowed me to kind of take more risks and push a
Mm.
little faster and drive a little harder.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's uncomfortable to begin with, is coming
What
in
were
there
you what
going,
were you lacking?
well, you look at like leaders and you look at like, I hate to use Elon Musk as an example, but like those big boisterous personalities. And I have anxiety. I don't like presenting in front of people. I don't like doing podcasts. Uh, you know, uh,
You've done okay so far.
right. Once I'm in it, I'm okay. But it's the nervousness of getting up to it and then pushing myself through it and realizing that almost everybody has this. Almost everybody has to wrestle with this, and that stuff doesn't come out normally. And just to learn about a lot of the leaders, and then like really step back and look at actual leaders in the industry and actual leaders that are doing the thing, and not looking at those big personalities and going, "You need to be this person." I mean, this is a really, really like broad example,
Mm.
but it really gets in there of like how your personality interacts with people, and how to, not spend the time worrying about your flaws and trying to fix them, and just focus on your strengths, and just hire people in that could fix your weaknesses and let them do it. Because like if you're not spending time working on your strengths and you're just working on your weaknesses, you're just losing out on the thing that makes you you.
Yeah, well, a lot of people kinda think, "Hey, this is who I am. Either you like me or you don't," and that's maybe not the best leadership
No, but
approach.
there's a piece of that. There's a piece of
There
that,
but
right?
yeah,
Like you have to know yourself well enough to go like, if I go up here and I present, this idea, it's not going to roll out correctly, so I will have somebody else present this idea for me.
yeah,
Or I really like presenting. I don't know the details. I'll hire somebody in to work out details, or whatever it is,
mm,
or bring somebody in, or I don't mean hire, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. I wanna wrap up. I hate to because there's so many more things we could talk about here. Maybe we'll have to do an article, something like that. But, what do you well, real quick, advice to the next generation of young growers just getting their career started, or they're still back in college or high school and they're listening to this, thinking, "This horticulture thing, what's it all about?" How would they have a successful career in our industry?
I mean, the horticulture industry is fantastic. I think I touched on it earlier that my wife went into the corporate side of things, and she is desperate to come back into horticulture. It's a great group of people. It's always fun. It's always different. Horticulture is just a great industry, and there's so many different avenues. You don't have to be a grower. There's marketing, there's sales, there's mechanics, there's managers, there's purchasing. There's so many different avenues in horticulture that's
Journalism.
still in the journalism, yeah, in the industry. So that's fantastic. And if I have to give a piece of advice, It's really easy in horticulture to get stuck in your career. Um, if you I would say you're gonna have to move, you're gonna have to take risk, and always just get kind of that next job. If you're a supervisor, you wanna get up to the manager level. If you're a manager, you wanna be a head grower or, the head of a department. Once you're at the head of the department, try to make that jump into the executive side of things. And even if you're not sure, a lot of times you're gonna learn a lot. And then especially if you're at a place and you feel like you're not learning anymore, it's time to move on and to find something.
Mhm. So what's next for John? Have you got the long range goals and plans, or you take it day by day?
A little bit more day by day here. I really like what I'm doing here. I think we've just started to lay the foundation of what we could do and what we could achieve. We're starting to get more involved in like the technology and the fun piece that I really like about horticulture, of bringing like technology into the industry and trying to do some different things and do things different and improve processes that haven't been improved in 30 years. And we're just starting to lay that foundation in order to be able to do a lot of that stuff. So,
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
you've just
having fun
mentioned
now.
AI, and the whole world is like, AI, what are we gonna do with that? And
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
saying we
we're
ought to
doing a
have it in
lot
here
with
now.
AI. Yeah, that was our research project for HRI, was our group picked AI. So we're doing more with AI. We're doing stuff with LiDAR. We're looking at autonomous vehicles, and that's the fun piece. I really like workflows. I really like seeing how everything interacts. So for now, I'm having fun.
Very cool. So if you're having fun, you don't need to take the weekend off and have other fun. But if you did, if you, what do you do for fun and relaxation?
Oh, I have so many hobbies. So it's one of the multiple hobbies that I
Let's see if
have.
any of them are the same as mine. I've got about a dozen.
Sporting clay shooting,
Nah, I've done it,
uh,
but
yeah, modeling, like, miniatures kinda things, uh, gaming I like, traveling, backpacking, hiking, archery. There's a lot.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's one of the thing I know about people in our industry. They're very well rounded. They love the challenges. They love the hard work, and it's great to see a young grower award winner having such an interesting career as John Terhesh has. So congratulations to how things have gone so far, and I think there's big things ahead
Thank
for
you.
you. So, and I hope everybody enjoyed the conversation with John. I feel like we need to do part two. That's all I can say. So you never know since he's become so good at podcasts. But
Yeah.
John, thanks again. And thanks everybody for tuning in to this episode of the Chris Beytes podcast. We'll see you next time.